What is the worst advice you've ever received in your life? Don't quit your job at Walmart. You've been here for 3 years. Just 7 more and you'll be fully vested in the company. One thing I just remembered about that job. We had a manager who, since the time I started working there, couldn't speak above a whisper no matter how hard she tried. It had been like this for years. 2 years after I was hired, she finally found a doctor who figured out the problem. Apparently, if you're stressed out every single day for years on end, it can cause a psychogenic voice disorder. He ordered her to take 3 months off work. When she came back, she could speak normally. Those blue vests just aren't worth it. When I was in high school I had a friend who was not the smartest. I remember him telling me if I didn't want to get a woman pregnant, then she should be on top so the sperm can't flow up. He became a father his sophomore year. He must have been so confused. You know, son, there really is no such thing as cheating if you aren't married. The Bible doesn't recognize any relationship that isn't bound in the covenant of the Lord. So until you are married, relationships don't really exist. Thanks Dad, you just indirectly explained why you're on your 3rd marriage. I called Kids Help Phone when I was a teen to ask for advice on how to help my depressed friend. They advised I find new friends. I wish I was making this up. The conversation was very short. I explained my friend has been struggling, depressed with no motivation and isolating herself from others. Along those lines. It was a while back, and what can I do? The only piece of advice they gave me was to let her sort it out on her own and find new friends. That's it. Nothing to interpret or misinterpret I don't think. We remained friends though and she's alright now. Man, this is worse than when I went to the doctor age 17 for depression and he said write a journal of things that make me feel sad and eat more bananas. Get used to it. My old boss told me when 8 hours day shift job changed to variable 8-10 hours night shift. This would effectively remove me from spending time with my wife and young children. Took his advice as catalyst to engineer the greatest adventure of my life. Transferred to job across country. Hugely upgrading living conditions for my family. New boss completely understanding of the demands on a parent. Adjusts my work schedule accordingly. I am so thankful for my new boss. But I am even more thankful for an old boss. For giving me the worst advice I've ever received in my life. When my marriage was on the rocks my dad said son, go out and find yourself an older woman that just wants to FK and keep your marriage. She, wife, doesn't have to know. You'll be getting laid and the older woman will be happy without a commitment. Thankfully, I didn't go that route, and my marriage is repaired and stronger than ever today. But the old lady who just wants to frick is still lonely. Stop being so selfish. Mentioned in passing that my boyfriend suffered from a terrible Charlie horse in the middle of the night. My bizarre space cadet of a co-worker heard this and immediately interjected, frantically explaining that I needed to get him to a hospital because this was a surefire symptom of pregnancy. She also recommended that I call the news because my boyfriend is well, a man. I guess she thought history was about to go down. Spoiler alert, he wasn't pregnant. It looks like you're using an ad blocker. Please turn it off to continue viewing this page. I saw a message on slate.com that was do badly condescending about this. I never went there again. Not that they lose any money from my absence, mind you. When my daughter was an infant, my wife couldn't breastfeed and my daughter couldn't digest formula very well, so I had to buy a special pre-digested formula for like $25 can. I was at the cashier paying for the formula. The guy in front of me was gathering his things. He said to me, he says, when my kids were babies, I wish I knew what I know now. I was like, what's that? What do you know? He says, babies don't need formula. All they need is sugar water. All the rest is a scam. I was like, I'm so glad you didn't know that back then. Yet, my brother had someone tell him that babies can start eating solids 2-3 weeks after birth. The co-worker who told him this has 2 children. Just have kids, you'll figure out how to afford them later. Guy at my work once told me that as long as you didn't physically block the exit, it wasn't considered debauchery. I had just asked how to deal with my girlfriend who wasn't upfront about her interests. A guy at my work once told me that as long as you didn't physically block the exit, it wasn't considered debauchery. The frick? My high school guidance counselor said that I wasn't college material, and I took her advice and started the process of joining the Marines with my friends, who were also told this. My chemistry teacher at the time scheduled a substitute, personally drove me to a nearby college, and sat there with me while I spoke with admissions. Fast forward a few years, after receiving a chemistry and chemical engineering dual degree and then going on to get a PhD in chemical engineering, I'd say that guidance counselor knew jack crap. TLDR, my guidance counselor said I wasn't college material, and was proven to be full of crap. I upvoted you, but it was for your chemistry teacher. What a great person. Just listen to your academic advisor. They know what they're doing. Thousands of dollars added cost to education, an extra senior year, and a withdrawal on record. Seriously, don't be afraid to push back on your advisors if you're concerned about what they say or do. Just don't fight back. Men act like that because they want to assert dominance. As soon as he realizes you've accepted his behavior, he will leave you alone. Usually if he acts like this to begin with, it will only get worse if you are submissive. When I was little, I told my mom I was sad because some kids were bullying me. She said I should tell them that when they bullied me it hurt me inside, and they would stop. I did what she said. This was bad advice. They did not stop. I know someone who taught her 5-year-old to tell people you're making me very angry. Yup, that worked out really well. I have an open door policy, so don't hesitate to come see me if you have any issues at all. I learned the hard way to never trust any boss or HR rep that says that crap. Utilizing open door policies is a dang good way to get fired for being a troublemaker. Don't go through chemotherapy. Eat this nut and berry mix instead. My younger sister, when she visited me in the hospital when I went for febrile neutropenia, no white blood cells, had fever. She also showed up claiming to have bronchitis and didn't wear a mask and full on hugged me. Yeah, she is a piece of work. Even knowing what I do now about what it would do to my reproductive health. TLDR. Permanent menopause at 26. I'd still go with chemotherapy 1100%. I was going to die without it, with a 100% guarantee. I would be dead by the time I turned 27. My life is more important than my ability to have children the old-fashioned way. Added to clarify, I was diagnosed with diffuse large B-cell lymphoma, co-classified with bulky disease, and was receiving chemo for it. The febrile neutropenia was a side effect of the treatment. My psychiatrist told me I could stop taking the SNRI antidepressants I was on more or less cold turkey. It was technically safe, but holy crap, it was a tough couple of weeks. Partly because of unpleasant physical sensations and partly because it was the closest to actual crazy I'd ever felt. Buy a house. In 2006. It'll be the best decision you ever make. Worst decision I've ever made. Same. On the other hand, financing it was surprisingly easy. Today, no way. When I found out I was pregnant with my youngest son, my mom and her boyfriend told me to abort. Not because I couldn't afford the baby, or that there was something wrong with him, but because my mom was going through menopause and didn't want to be reminded that she couldn't have any more kids. No, I was not pregnant with my son's baby. I was pregnant with my son who was the baby. Yes, this did happen. No, my mom is no longer with the boyfriend because he ran out of money. Yes, I still am in contact with her because she has had some sort of mental breakdown and is living in my house. Yes, I hate her. But my brother noped the F out when my mom threatened to punch his wife because she wanted my mom to vacuum her room because she had bugs. So instead of her being homeless, we let her live with us. I wish I had noped out too, but 40 years of abuse can frick with a person. Yes, I had my son. He's 10. I was 30 when I had him. My husband and I are still together. I am so sorry your mom is such a selfish bee. Whoa. Just open another credit card. It's free money coming from my friend who is in thousands of dollars worth of debt and has no idea she will eventually have to pay that off. Also another gem, this same girl thought she would get a marketing job right out of college that would pay her $70,000 a year and she wouldn't take anything less because she would be selling herself short. Don't be afraid to seek help at mental health. It won't adversely affect your Air Force career. I've been turned down for 2 amazing job opportunities because of my visits to mental health. To clarify, I'm already in the Air Force. I saw mental health for depression and anxiety related issues and was later rejected for new jobs within the AF because of those visits, despite assurances to and endorsements by several providers stating that my issues had been resolved. The last couple years of my life and career have been immensely frustrating, and it's put me in a dark place that I haven't really been able to escape since. I'm not planning to do anything stupid, don't get me wrong, but it's hard to see the proverbial light lately. I'm not giving up. I think I'm too stubborn to do that, but I have come to realize that I'm probably gonna be here for a while, so I might as well make myself comfortable. In my final semester of college, my insanely jealous, distraught mother called me to make one last plea to get me to drop out. She went on to say, what would you do if you had to watch helplessly as your own daughter threw her life away and became a nurse? By the way, she married an elementary school dropout and was a bitter retail worker. She couldn't handle watching me be the first in the family to graduate from college and make something of myself, and she dealt with it by constantly shaming me. If I scored 99% on something, she complained about the last 1%. If I got 100%, she said I was stupid because I didn't earn bonus marks. We don't talk anymore and I'm a successful nurse. This is really mild in comparison to some of the things my mother has said and done to me. As is tradition, I received the typical, well, I hope you still love her and talk to her. Be the better person response that survivors of childhood abuse often receive. If your abuser won't stop, there is nothing wrong with leaving and never looking back. Yes, even if it's your mother. This is me being the better person and respecting myself and my children enough not to subject us to abuse. A friend of mine would always get me to talk about my relationships and would somehow twist the smallest things into seeming like they were really bad and then suggest that I should break up with them, and I would be like, you're right, why am I putting up with this crap when it could have been something completely normal? Happened with 3 girls in a row and it was always the same stuff he said, and I just snapped out of it one day and realized that I had been the crappy BF, and the reason it didn't work was because of how I was acting after hearing all these things put into my head. Think he was just jealous because he could never get any girls, but what a weird thing to look back on. It's quite funny how many comments here are suggesting he was into me because we actually shared a bed for a few months years ago as he got kicked out of his apartment and had nowhere else to go, and I was still living with my parents, so the sofa was a no-go. I feel unclean. Engineer, salaried, married with a kid, also have a master's degree and several years of experience. VP of the company advised me to work at McDonald's after work if I wanted to make more money. He even took his calculator out and told me how many hours I should work. The guy was fired about a year after that for bullying employees. I tried to leave but ended up staying and turned down other jobs. Not a bad place to be for now. I spoke about it to a couple of senior executive I trusted at the time. Legally married to an adult female. The kid is the result of said marriage. Just for the records. This had to be a ploy, even if it was something as base as to keep you from exploring your real alternatives. This wasn't me personally, but my mom told me that we had a neighbor that used to constantly tell my dad that life insurance was a waste of money and tried to convince him to stop paying for it. Fortunately, my dad was intelligent because he died 5 years later and my family would have been completely destroyed without it. There are different kinds of life insurance. Some people really have issues with whole life and say it's a bad investment. Either way, thank goodness your dad stuck with his plan. I'm so sorry for your loss and hope you're doing okay. My careers advisor in high school. When I said I think I want to do something with computers, she said, have you heard of Microsoft? Then she wrote Microsoft on a piece of paper and slid it across the table, and that was my careers interview over. Someone told me that I should have kids in my early 20s so I can just get it out the way. That's not how that works. Your family is the only thing that will ever be there for you. Not your friends, your family. And I just got excommunicated from my narcissistic, abusive family 2 days before Thanksgiving. LOL, my dad tries to guilt trip me all the time using this. No man. The one person who's always been there for me is my best friend. You're just upset your kids don't love you. Anything in any romantic comedy ever. Harass the woman you want with unwanted, over-the-top romantic gestures until she falls in love with you. Stop reading. You read too much. You're going to hurt your eyes. Go watch TV for a while. My grandma, every time she visited, while grabbing the books from my hands, it was like something off The Simpsons. Have children as soon as possible. Number. Children are hella expensive. 8th grade geography exam is coming up. We've been studying the Middle East. Father has recently returned from Africa, where someone had incorrectly informed him that Israel is technically a part of Africa. He was extremely convincing. My teacher literally said, "Jesus, we've been studying this for weeks, kid." Take a piece of sandpaper and rough your nipples up before the baby comes. A co-worker to pregnant me about breastfeeding. Go see Jack and Jill with Adam Sandler. It's funny. Todd from accounting. Stop thinking about depression. There are more people who have greater problems than yours. Not Vibber. It's like saying don't eat food when you're hungry because someone somewhere is starving. Ignore the bullies. You don't need to fight them, but standing up for yourself is far better than taking it, internalizing it and letting it hold you back. College roommate. Drink beer and nothing hard when you party. It fills you up so you'll throw it up before you get alcohol poisoning, and then you can drink more right away. College can kind of be scary when it comes to people's opinions and suggestions about drinking. I didn't really drink at all in high school, so I didn't know my tolerance or limits when I got to college. People would be trying to get me blackout drunk and crap. I'm all for a good time, but binge drinking is risky. Don't make any friends. Friends will ruin your life. I haven't made any friends and I've ruined my own life just fine. Thank you very much. When I was about 5-6 years old, I was given a Superman cape for my birthday. I was told that it could make me fly. After a few days of not being able to fly, I began asking people how to make it work. They advised that I needed to find somewhere high up to jump off of, so I started jumping off fences, trees. Then I was told I needed to jump something taller. When I was a teenager and had acne, none of the over-the-counter acne medicine was working. My mom brought me to a dermatologist and the medicine they prescribed was very expensive, so before buying it, my mom searched for any home remedies online. The home remedy she found was to use urine. The way to apply was worse. My mom went to the store to buy supplies, and for over a month I would pee into a diaper and place it on my face for 15 minutes as part of my morning routine. Worst advice I've ever taken. I was miserable with the school I was in and wanted to study my dream career. A friend told me that no one does what they like and I should deal with it. I didn't. I did leave, and now I am about to get a degree on the career I love. I know things will be tough, but I don't regret it. In my country most of us are out of jobs, so I figured, if I'm going to be unemployed, better be at something I like. It really depends on what it is. I got a degree in audio video and have had all sorts of odd jobs. Weigh your options. Somebody told me girls like to be smacked around a little. Pro tip, always ask first. Also introduce yourself first. Schedule all your college courses at 8 AM. Then you've got the rest of the day to relax. This works if you're a morning person. Afternoon classes were heck for me, but I loved having 8s. When you're undecided about what to do with your life and people say do what you're passionate about, love, well freaking thank you. Like, I'm obviously not that passionate about anything if I've got to ask this question, right? I hate this advice. I've been depressed for years and subsequently am hardly passionate about anything. I barely have the motivation to even look for new things to get excited about. To be honest, I don't know if I'll ever find a job I enjoy because I don't enjoy much of anything. Your high school years will be the best ones of your life, so you better enjoy them while you can. If high school was the greatest time of my life, then I would have been better off killing myself then and there. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.